When Iman Shumpert first crossed paths with Teyana Taylor, it was more than a chance encounter. It was like a spark lit a fuse that neither of them could put out. He was the charismatic NBA star, a champion in the making, with style, swagger, and a smile that disarmed even the toughest defenses. She was the fierce R&B powerhouse, confident, raw, driven. Teyana didn't just walk into a room, she owned it. From the outside, it was obvious. These two were not just another celebrity couple. They were a movement. Black love in its most stylish form. The kind of pairing that felt electric and deeply inspiring in a time when the world craved authenticity from public figures. And for a while, they delivered. Their love story unfolded in front of millions. Not in bits and pieces like other couples, but in full cinematic widescreen. Their wedding was intimate yet bold, full of symbolism, Black excellence, and genuine joy. It was a statement, not just of love, but of power. Then came their reality show, and if the wedding made people adore them, the show made people invest in them. Fans got a front row seat to what looked like real love, unfiltered, hilarious, chaotic, and full of chemistry. They weren't afraid to be vulnerable, to show the ups and downs, the messy middle that often gets edited out in celebrity life. To their audience, they weren't just stars, they were goals. But what no one saw coming was how quickly admiration would turn into quiet desperation behind closed doors. In the early stages of their marriage, the signs were subtle. Just the usual growing pains of two people trying to balance love with ambition. A man was still deep in the NBA world, training, traveling, staying focused on his career. Teyana, on the other hand, was on fire. She was building an empire in real time: music, fashion, acting. She had a vision that wouldn't be slowed down, and that energy was magnetic. At first, Iman loved that about her. It was part of the reason he fell in love. But as the months turned into years, that very quality started to wear on him. He began to feel like a side character in his own life. He would hear it at events, in interviews, and especially on social media. Mr. Taylor. It was meant as a joke, but jokes sting when they reflect a growing insecurity. Even when Iman finally achieved a career milestone, winning an NBA championship with the Cleveland Cavaliers, the moment was fleeting. He thought it might reposition him in the eyes of the public, maybe even rekindle a sense of balance in his marriage. But almost immediately, the spotlight shifted again. Teyana's next album, her steamy magazine shoot, her growing influence. His win barely lasted a news cycle. It wasn't jealousy, it was erasure. And Iman started feeling like a ghost in a relationship that once made him feel alive. Things became even more complicated when their reality show started becoming less of a platform and more of a pressure cooker. Every awkward silence, every eye roll, every minor disagreement was clipped, posted, and dissected. Fans started writing their own narratives, many of them harsh and one-sided. Some said Teyana was too controlling. Others mocked Iman, calling him passive, emasculated. Clips of her correcting him or dismissing him started circulating online with captions like, "She treats him like an accessory." He smiled through it. He always had. But behind that smile was a man slowly drowning in the background noise of his partner's success. He started withdrawing, not completely, not overnight, but gradually. Late-night conversations turned into brief check-ins. Shared jokes became solo laughs. Teyana's schedule was always full, and while a man respected the grind, he started questioning his place in it. Was he still her partner, or just someone who fit neatly into the narrative of her brand? He missed feeling like he mattered outside of family photos and curated couple moments. And speaking of family, the birth of their daughter was supposed to be the anchor that grounded their love, and in some ways it was. Iman poured himself into fatherhood. He was there, present, proud, devoted. He thought the shared responsibility would bring them closer. But instead, it gave Teyana even more reason to keep pushing. She'd say, "I'm doing this for our daughter," and how could he challenge that? How could he tell her that in trying to build the future, they were losing the present? Anytime he brought up his own needs, his desire to be seen, supported, heard, it quickly turned into a discussion about how hard she worked, how much she carried. It wasn't a partnership anymore. It was a power imbalance disguised as progress. Financially, the tension also began to simmer. Iman had never hesitated to support his wife's vision. In the early years, most of the lifestyle they displayed was funded by his NBA salary. And that was fine. She was his wife. But as her empire grew, so did the expenses, the pressure, the expectations. Teyana was always pushing, always building. And while Iman admired that, he began to wonder, was he still part of the foundation or just a source of capital? That thought, that quiet realization that he might be funding something that no longer included him, kept him up at night. Eventually, their relationship became more performance than partnership. Public smiles, private silence. Behind-the-scenes arguments, carefully filtered Instagram posts. Iman started spending more time with friends, stepping out more, seeking connection outside the home he no longer recognized. Rumors followed about flings, parties, distractions. Some true, some exaggerated, but every headline drove a deeper wedge. Teyana, in response, became more protective, more controlling. The more she tried to hold on, the more Iman slipped away. Then, the breakup. When the news broke, it wasn't with a bang, it was with a quiet statement. Teyana's camp framed it as a mature, mutual decision. Two adults choosing peace. But those close to Iman knew the truth ran deeper. He didn't speak publicly, but in private, he was hurt. Not just by the end of the relationship, but by how easily it seemed she let it go. She never really needed me, he told friends. She needed the story. It wasn't meant as shade. It was a confession. A moment of clarity from a man who felt like he'd been a chapter in someone else's memoir. What made it worse was how quickly Teyana appeared to bounce back. She was out, visible, thriving, her name back in headlines, her photos trending. Rumors of new flings swirled. Meanwhile, Iman tried to reclaim his identity. He signed on to dancing competitions, took small acting roles, made appearances. Anything to remind the world that he existed beyond her orbit. But no matter what he did, the tag stuck, Teyana's ex. It was like everything he had ever built. Every dunk, every game, every moment had been erased by 3 years of reality TV and red carpet photos. Then came the family drama. Iman's mother, protective and unapologetic, didn't hold back. She called Teyana a user, a manipulator, someone who only ever looked out for herself. Fans were divided. Some dragged Iman Shumpert, accusing her of bitterness and overstepping. Others said she simply said what many had suspected all along. The internet lit up with old clips, debates, think pieces. Suddenly, the relationship was being rewritten in real time, not by them, but by us. Still, Iman didn't speak. No long captions, no tell-alls, just silence. But now, it seems that silence may be ending. Insiders say he's considering finally telling his side. Not to smear Teyana, but to reclaim his truth. Maybe a book. Maybe a sit-down interview. Something that gives him back the voice he lost in all the noise. Through all of this, one thing has remained constant: his love for his daughter. That role, fatherhood, is the one identity he never questioned, never had to perform, never wanted to walk away from. But even co-parenting with Teyana, according to close sources, is now distant and cold. They show up when they need to. They're civil, but the warmth, the closeness, it's gone. That chapter has ended. And yet, the world refuses to let it rest. Social media continues to pick apart every quote, every look, every lyric. Theories flood timelines. Fans play detectives, decoding posts and analyzing silence. And now, new whispers are emerging. Teyana is plotting a comeback, new music, new deals, and possibly another reality show. This time, one that tells her side, on her terms. And you know what? People will watch. Because love, loss, and redemption, they always sell. But maybe the saddest part of this story isn't the breakup. It's how something that once looked like real love was slowly eaten alive by ambition, ego, and silence. Maybe they were too young. Maybe the fame was too loud. Or maybe one of them always knew it was temporary. A partnership built for exposure, not endurance. So now the question that lingers, was Iman just a chapter in Teyana's story? Or was he a man who loved deeply, gave completely, and lost himself in someone else's spotlight? Let me know what you think in the comments. Smash that like button if you stayed for the full story. And don't forget to subscribe, because the final chapter, it hasn't dropped yet. And when it does, you already know it's going to break the internet.